Good afternoon, Jim Cooper here at the Digiday video studio at the Blockboard Suite on the first day of Cannes 2025, and we're really excited to have Don McGuire here, who is the CMO of Qualcomm. What do you think the most important conversation you'll have during this week will be?
That's a great question. So besides all the speakerships, which is really about kind of telling our story or associating our story with other stories, I think it's going to be interesting to hear sort of what people feel like this next cycle is going to look like from a creativity perspective. You know, there's so many different narratives going on in the world right now. So threading the creative needle is going to be interesting.
How are you seeing the blending of storytelling, creative, and technology? Because Qualcomm is a tech company.
Yeah, absolutely. So until about 6 years ago or so, you know, we had focused, you know, on our core strength, which was we're a technology company that invents amazing technology. But then we sort of shifted towards an emphasis of telling our story more. And as a technology company, sometimes telling your story can become complicated, complex, or highly technical. So how do you make it easy for people? And so one of the things that we pride ourselves is more story showing versus storytelling, because kind of seeing is believing sometimes. So we focus a lot on experiential and bringing our technology to life, and then really sort of taking this foray into partnerships and associating our brand with some amazing brands across people's passion points: sports, music, entertainment.
Right, so and that's a good segue into my next question. Building community and authenticity takes trust for your consumers. I know that's going to be sort of a through thread of conversation here. How are you approaching the trust issue, especially now where there's so much fraud in the marketplace as we sort of step into this new sort of programmatic 2.0 world?
Right. Authenticity is super important to build trust, number one. And you can't force authenticity. So you have to sort of strike some sort of moment or some sort of kind of heartstring with the audience that you're trying to connect with in order to appear authentic and then turn that into relevance. And then ultimately, these days, especially with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, building trust also involves taking your brand and your product from just beyond the value proposition of what it delivers to actually doing good in the world. And so having a purpose-built brand.
So what are you hoping to hear about AI this week?
Well, I think the evolution of where the conversations were last year, which was more about the promise or the threat of AI, I think this year is about the practice. It's manifesting itself. People are starting to use it. It's less of an unknown and more about, okay, how do we practically make AI work for the process? So I think the conversation has evolved. But more importantly and more interestingly, I think, is this year, sport seems to have trumped, no pun intended, AI as the topic of conversation here in Cannes and the integration of sport and marketing. What Stagwell started 3 years ago with Sport Beach has become like everybody's sort of platform. Whether you're at Wall Street Journal House or Newsweek or New York Times, everybody wants to talk about sports and the integration of sports and athletes and marketing, and so it's really, really interesting. So I didn't expect that. I expected a lot of AI, but AI seems to be sort of the second tier story this week.
What do you think is mission critical for brand marketers like yourself to be doing now to be relevant and competitive this time next year?
Well, we kind of have to stay on top of things a lot more sort of real time than we used to, because things are changing literally by the hour. Everything from geopolitics, right, to economic narratives. And so just staying on top of that moving target, I think it's more difficult, more complex for marketers. So we have to pay probably closer attention to what's going on than maybe we've had to in the past. And then I think it's just making sure we keep audience at the core of what we do. And as perceptions and moods and things change, that we're kind of ebbing and flowing with those perceptual changes in whoever your target audience may be.
Don McGuire is CMO at Qualcomm. Don, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.